Good evening, everyone. It is 6 p.m. and I will call to order the Thursday, April 9th, 2026 meeting of the Town of Grand Chute Plan Commission. Can I have roll call, please?
Chair Brad Gehring,
Here?
Commissioner Bantus,
Here.
Commissioner Crosby. Here. Commissioner Weber,
Here.
Commissioner Ulrich, Commissioner Torrance,
Can't see past the.
Present.
did I miss something?
No.
Okay, sorry. Commissioner Clausen. Here. And Commissioner Showalter.
Here.
All right, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Can I have a motion for approving tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second. Crosby.
Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner Ulrich, seconded by Commissioner Crosby to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval of the minutes from the March 3rd, 2026 meeting.
Torrance moves as presented. Weber, second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Torrance, seconded by Commissioner Weber to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Public input pertaining to agenda items. Is anyone here to speak on a matter that's not in a public hearing? Anybody here to speak on a matter that is not in a public hearing? All right. Notice of the public hearings were mailed to property owners on March 27th, 2026 with affidavits on file. Said notices were also available via the town website, grandchutewi.gov, and town vestibule on March 27th, 2026 with affidavits on file. Agenda item number 6, public hearing number 1, rezoning Z-01-2026, requested by True North Energy LLC and 813 Holdings LLC to rezone property located at 120 to 230 South McCarthy Road from Commercial Local District to CR Regional Commercial District. Action before us is to hear any testimonies. Anyone here to speak on this matter? Anyone here to speak on public hearing number 1? What are the wishes of the commission?
Torrance moves to close public hearing number 1.
Ulrich, second.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Torrance, seconded by Commissioner Ulrich to close. Any discussion? All those in favor of closing signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Public hearing is closed. Agenda item number 7, rezoning Z-01-2026, requested by True North Energy LLC and 813 Holdings LLC to rezone property located at 120 through 230 South McCarthy Road from CL Local Commercial District to CR Regional Commercial District. Action before us is for approval or denial. Mr. Patsa.
Thank you, Chair. So this request is to accommodate a potential expansion from the existing sports performance business, which is located in this retail strip. That's Blaze Sports and Fitness. The zoning code has a provision that limits this type of use in the CL local commercial district to 40,000 square feet. And with that future expansion internally, they would exceed that threshold. So we're proposing to rezone the CR regional commercial district, and that zoning district has no such limit on the square footage, and therefore this would be classified as a permitted use. There's some information there about the surrounding properties. Staff does feel this is compatible with the existing surrounding zoning classifications and the surrounding properties. This rezone request is also consistent with the Town of Grand Chute Comprehensive Plan, as this is in the regional commercial hospitality and entertainment district in our future land use plan. Just wanted to note that separate from this rezoning process, there is a desire from the ownership group. There's 2 entities that own these units in the condominium. So they've come together and they're proposing to dissolve the commercial condominium. That would require, and then split the property basically in 2. So that's going to require a certified survey map to do the lot split after they dissolve the condo, and then also a plan unit development designation to allow for that zero lot line configuration. Then there'll be a series of easements for access, utilities, stormwaters, that kind of thing, and that'll be coming to the Plan Commission and Town Board at a future meeting. So with that, staff does support a Plan Commission recommendation for approval to rezone units 4 through 8 of the second addendum to the College Court condominium from CL Local Commercial District to CR Regional Commercial District. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission?
So that includes the whole plaza then,
It isn't the entire strip, yep.
and the gas station?
The gas station and all the
Okay.
basically stuff connected to it, yep.
Any other questions? What are your wishes?
Weber, move to approve.
Clausen moves to second.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Weber, seconded by Commissioner Clausen to approve rezoning Z01-2026. Any discussion? All those in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Agenda item number 8, final plat 02-2026 requested by the Greater Fox Cities Habitat for Humanity for Habitat's Gillette Street plat, creating 3 additional single-family residential lots on property located at 3822 North Gillette Street. Action before us is for approval or denial. Mr. Russell.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So the property we're talking about is about 1.67 acres in size and has about 287 feet of frontage on Gillette. The existing home's going to remain, and there will be 3 lots below that lot. All the access is going to be off of Gillette Street. So similar to last time, the last meeting, we talked about something similar, but the proposed land subdivision would be allowed by CSM for the town of Grand Chute. We allow up to 4 parcels to be created by CSM within a 5-year period. Outagamie County has a similar restriction, but does not have a time frame, so it runs into perpetuity. So consequently, this has to be a plat for this subdivision of land. The lot associated with the existing home is going to be 0.6 acres, and the other 3 below it are going to be 0.36. All the lots associated meet the town standards for size and lot width. However, due to the depth of the existing property, the width to depth ratio of the 3 new lots on the southern end are in excess of the allowable ratio of our municipal code. There are several limitations for this property, including the environmental factors on the east and the southern part, as well as the fact that the town doesn't want access off of Evergreen for safety purposes. There is language within our code that allows for the exceptions for design standards if certain site conditions are met, which they are with the environmental and the access. Consequently, staff supports the lot configurations and dimensions as presented. Our town stormwater engineer has approved the drainage and erosion control plan. And additionally, any impacts to the environmental areas, which they're very minimal in this case, but they would still have to go through the appropriate regulatory agencies, so the county, FEMA, DNR, et cetera. Additionally, it does align with our comprehensive plan for the future land use map, and it also addresses the goals outlined in the housing goals and objectives section. It also addresses the goals 1 and 2 of our housing study, which was recently passed, and the final plat does meet the standards of our municipal code with that one exception outlined. And then I'll also add that for the recommendation, it does say final plat, so I'll correct that for the record. So staff has reviewed and supports the Plan Commission recommendation for approval of the final plat of Habitat's Gillette Street plat FP02 2026.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Russell? Hearing none, what are your wishes?
Ulrich move to approve.
Torrance seconds.
I have a motion by Commissioner Ulrich, seconded by Commissioner Torrance to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Adjournment.
Torrance moves to adjourn.
Crosby, second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Torrance, seconded by Commissioner Crosby to adjourn. Any discussion? All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Thank you. We are adjourned.
Good evening, everybody. It's
Oh, it's Thursday, sorry. Thursday, April 9th at 6:30 PM. I'd like to call the Grand Chute Sanitary Commission to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Haling.
Here.
Bantus.
Here.
Blair.
Here.
Gehring.
Here.
English.
Here. All rise, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. Can I get approval of the agenda and order of the day?
Gearing moves approval of the agenda in order of the day.
Blair seconds.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Is there any public input tonight?
There's none.
Can I get approval of the consent agenda?
Ailing moves approval of the consent agenda.
Gearing seconds.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, that motion carries. Can I get approval of the financial reports?
Bantus makes a motion to approve the financial reports for April 9th, 2026. Ailing seconds.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any discussion? That motion carries. We're up to item G, new business, small bridge culvert replacement project, which was in the 2026 CIP. Director Jolma, would you like to discuss this?
Sure. So this is a replacement of small bridge culverts. They're just large diameter culverts that have a span that actually characterizes them as small bridges. This is 3 different locations we're looking to do. With the proposals from the county, we're looking to be under budget by approximately $11,000. And with this as well, we're also looking to apply for bridge aid through the county, which covers half of the costs of these 3 culverts. So if we're successful with that, it'll half our cost to approximately $75,000 for the replacements.
Does the board have any questions? Is there a motion?
Ailing moves approval of awarding the small bridge culvert replacement project to Outagamie County Highway Department in the amount of $149,194.71 and approve the applications for the county bridge aid with Outagamie County for $74,597.34.
Gearing seconds.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any dissensions? That motion is approved. Thank you. Moving on to,
Motion to adjourn.
I'm sorry, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moves.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you so much. Moving on, the time is now 6:35, and I'd like to call Grand Chute Town Board meeting to order. Can I get approval of the agenda and order of the day?
Gearing moves approval of the agenda in order of the day.
Blair seconds.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Is there any public input tonight?
There's none.
Okay, thank you. Can I get approval of the consent agenda?
Gearing will move approval of the minutes from March 17th, 2026, the licensing applications, firework permits, fire department annual report, and the police department annual report.
Blair seconds.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item E, we're up to financial reports. Is there a motion?
Yep. Bantus makes a motion to approve paid vouchers for April 9th, 2026. Ailing seconds.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. We're up to item F, new business. Plan Commission recommendations. Item A, rezoning Z012026, requested by True North Energy LLC and 813 Holdings LLC to rezone property located at 120 to 230 South McCarthy Road from CL Local Commercial District to CR Regional Commercial District. District. Director Patsa, do you want to speak to this?
Thank you, Chair. Plan Commission does recommend approval. I'd be happy to answer any specific questions on the rezone request.
Does the board have any questions? I'd entertain a motion.
Gearing moves approval of Z01-2026.
Lair seconds.
seconds.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item B, final plat FP 022026 requested by the Greater Fox Cities Habitat for Humanity for Habitat's Gillette Street plat, creating 3 additional single-family residential lots on property located at 3822 North Gillette Street. Director Patsa, would you like to speak to this?
Thank you, Chair. Again, Plan Commission does recommend approval. This is basically required to be a plat due to a technicality with the county subdivision requirements. It would be allowed by CSM under town requirements. Nonetheless, the 4-lot plat is recommended for approval. Be happy to answer any specific questions.
Does the board have any further questions? I'd entertain a motion.
Gearing moves approval of final plat 02-2026 requested by the Greater Fox Cities Habitat for Humanity.
Banta seconds.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item number 2 under new business, open discussion and consideration of offer to purchase from ARB Evergreen LLC for 3 acres of town-owned land along West Evergreen Drive for future commercial development prior to potentially going into closed session to discuss strategy and bargaining authority for the Community Development Director to use in negotiations. Director Patsa?
Thank you, Chair. So staff's been in discussion with this buyer that submitted the offer for probably over a year now. The intention is to develop this property as a commercial/retail bakery site, or on the site. Staff does view this as a high-quality project. I've already seen some renderings of the concept of what they're looking at in the site and the conceptual site plan. I would mention that this would also create some substantial new tax increment in TID number 2, and would fit well within the existing surrounding commercial areas of West Evergreen Drive and North Galaxy Drive. So I just wanted to highlight that TID funds or from TID 2 were purchased or were used to purchase this property. The offer is for $300,000 with a stipulation that the buyer and the seller, obviously the town, agree on terms of development agreement to include certain incentives to the buyer to develop the property. So those incentives in the development agreement would come before the town at a future meeting. So if you accept this offer and then later decide, I don't like this deal, it's not a good idea, you certainly have the right to deny the development agreement, and then this offer will be null and void. So be happy to answer any questions, but staff does support approval of the offer to purchase. If you'd like to discuss anything, I think in more detail, specifically about the potential incentives discussions I've had with the buyer, I would probably suggest that be done in closed session. I guess I'll just leave it there and be happy to answer any other questions.
I'm looking for some questions or directions from the board. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to go ahead with the offer to purchase on this property.
Is there a second?
Ailing seconds.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Item number 3, consideration of contract for engineering services with JT Engineering Incorporated to redesign a stormwater pond west of Fire Station 1 to accommodate future development on adjacent town-owned land. Is there anything from Director Patsa?
Yeah, I guess we'll do a little summary. So if you'll remember back in late 2025, the town approved a preliminary plat, which I'm showing here. The property that's highlighted on the screen that I'm showing right now is property that was be part of the plat but would remain under town ownership. So just north of that in Outlot 1, there's a proposed stormwater pond that would handle all the water from the new subdivision, the roads, houses, etc. I guess in retrospect, we should have probably had this conversation earlier, but logically, it makes sense for the pond to be sized to accommodate future development on the lot the town will still own. And with the intention of a future sale and future development, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to have a pond there for the residential subdivision, then we sell the lot, it develops into something else, commercial or what have you, and then have a smaller pond right next to it. So, hindsight's 20/20, but we caught it in time before we started construction at least. The contract before you is to kind of redesign or revise the existing stormwater management plan, likely enlarge that pond a bit, and then have that accommodate both the new subdivision for the residential homes and the future lot the town intends to sell for future development. I think that's all I have to mention. I will be happy to answer any questions, but staff does support approval. The funds would come out of TID 2. It's not explicitly listed in the budget for TID 2, but there are sufficient funds within that budget for TID 2 under contractual services that would cover the cost proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Who would eventually own that pond?
So it wouldn't be the town. It would be basically, trying to look exactly how many lots. There'd be like a 1/23 ownership of, all the 22 lots in the residential subdivision, and then the lot that we ultimately sell. So that would be up to the property owners for them to maintain long-term.
What are the wishes of the board?
One more
Oh,
question.
sure.
So the lot that we potentially would be selling later on automatically would utilize this pond?
Correct.
We wouldn't have to do any other agreements to be able to utilize it?
Correct.
Okay.
I would mention, thank you for that question, just triggered something I didn't mention. There is, an expectation that we would, so back, I think in 2025, we brought like a draft development agreement before the board for this residential development. They're working on finalizing, all the plans that need to go in there for the road, utilities, et cetera. There would be a notion that we need to at least provide some incentive to cover the costs of not just the design, but the work associated with the pond in that development agreement. So, to be fair, we really should participate because we're getting benefit from it in the sale of that future lot that can then utilize the pond. So I don't know what that number might be, but it'll certainly be brought back before the board in the form of that final development agreement.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Haley moves to approve.
Is there a second?
There are seconds.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item number 4, 2025-06, Ridgeview Drive Area Project Contract Amendment. I'm sorry, that took me a little while. And this would approve or deny the contract amendment number 1 in the amount of $62,800. Director Jolma?
Thank you, Chair. So this is for the Ridgeview Drive area projects. It was budgeted across 5 different project accounts. All the way back in August of 2024, we started the design on this project. We're nearing the end of the design, and McMahon's been working through all the extra things that have come through with this project, including all the work that was done to acquire land, working with, I believe, 6 different property owners to acquire various land and easements. It included additional topographic survey and also working with the city of Appleton to work on an intergovernmental agreement that'll come before the town in the future here to be able to utilize the city's Memorial Park Pond for some of our stormwater quality purposes, and as well as preparing CSM and additional roadway and storm sewer design. So with this amendment, we still are under budget by almost $130,000 in total on the design for this project. And just as an update for this project as a whole, we're hoping in May that it can come before the board for award. I can take any questions if you have anything.
Are there questions? What are the wishes of the board?
Haley moves to approve 2025-06 contract amendment number 1 in the amount of $62,800.
Banta seconds.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item number 5, consideration of one-time fund transfers from the IT payroll budget to the IT capital equipment fund for necessary building equipment replacement. Director Haubacker, do you want to speak to this item?
Thank you, Chair. The IT department is seeking a fund transfer from payroll to cover the door lock and security system that's out of date relay boards, and we lost upgrade ability from our vendor until we get this done. It's not in the budget, therefore we're asking the payroll budget to capital improvement to cover the cost of this doing. The cost of the equipment will be just under 100,000, and labor might be around 20. So we have enough funds if we do the payroll transfer to cover that.
Are there further questions from the board? What are the wishes of the board?
Haley moves to approve.
Banta seconds.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries. Item number 6, consideration of amended street policy. And Administrator Peterson, would you please cover this?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This proposal arose as we began preparing for the development of our 2027 CIP budget, specifically as it relates to road projects. For many years, the decisions on the road design have been informed by various town resources, including our comprehensive plan, pedestrian and bicycle strategy, and our previous streets policy. These 3 documents historically have offered a shared vision of the development of complete streets, which are designed to offer safe and convenient travel for all forms of transportation, including vehicle, bicycle, and pedestrian. But as we reviewed those documents, we determined that based on some past revisions, they were no longer in alignment. So with that discovery, I had asked Directors Patsa and Jolma to review the documents, and then after that review, Director Jolma agreed to amend the policy and restore that alignment. And in doing so, he also incorporated several other additions that made for a much more comprehensive policy. Those modifications are highlighted in your agenda memo, but if you have any specific questions about the modifications, I would defer to Director Jolma.
Thank you. Further questions?
Chair, I do have, if the committee or supervisors would go under B as in boy, if you scroll down on that proposed languages to public input, I'm going to talk through a change here where it talks about with the urbanization of existing rural streets and the addition of new trails or sidewalk facilities, the change from having public hearings to not having them anymore. Knowing what we went through in the last few years, we get a lot of questions about sidewalks and rec trails, or sidewalk facilities and rec trails, and we have seen the public reaction to those things. So what I'm asking is that paragraph to make a distinction between having public hearings for the urbanization and existing rural street discussion, which to me, looking at neighborhoods, in our community, we have a lot of neighborhoods that still have some ditches, but they're never gonna, even if the roads are reconstructed, they're never likely to have a sidewalk or a rec trail going through them. So I don't wanna complicate life for the staff by having hearings on all of those different streets. Certainly, once the public finds out about it, the public engages, has opportunities to engage the board, staff on their feelings. But what I recommend is this language here. So just hear me out. Is after public input, after a preliminary design is completed for a project that involves adding a new trail or sidewalk facilities, the town shall hold a public informational meeting with adjoining property owners to gather feedback. So basically, out of that existing proposed language, we would be striking urbanizing and an existing rural street and changing the may to shall. And I would make that as an amendment or a motion to amend this language. I can read it again if somebody needs that.
Can you point me to that line again?
Yeah, so it's under B as in boy, if you
Well,
scroll down.
Scroll all the way down, there's a finalized view of this. Can somebody show it on the, yeah, this is where I want to start.
Oh.
Because this is the proposed street policy, so
Right, so we have to
I'm
go.
wondering if maybe it's already clarified. No.
Right here, when you go on this page, now you go down, you see the 1, 2, 3, 4 with the parens below it, and then that paragraph, after a preliminary design is completed
Okay.
for a project.
Okay,
Right.
gotcha.
Okay, so, so what I would be doing, my draft strikes urbanizing an existing rural street, and instead of may, it says shall
Okay,
hold a public hearing, public informational meeting with adjoining property owners. So I'll read that again, Mr. Chair. After a preliminary design is completed for a project that involves adding new trail or sidewalk facilities, the town shall hold a public informational meeting with adjoining property owners to gather feedback.
thank you.
And you're making that as a motion, correct?
That's my motion, correct?
Any further discussion?
Ailing seconds.
Any feedback? Any further discussion? And this is the first motion, this isn't an amended one.
Right, just amending the policy,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Just a question. Administrator Peterson.
Frustrated with the way you currently file your taxes? What if you could track your
issues with
tax
that
expert's
change?
progress?
But it's things like when somebody
I
says
don't.
something.
I think it makes it pretty clear of what we're supposed to do for each project.
Administrator.
I would concur.
So listening is
I think
not
it's a
the
good
act
change.
of hearing the words spoken. It is the art of understanding the meaning
Then I
behind
guess
those
I'll call
words.
for a vote. All those in
And,
favor? Signify
you know,
by
when
saying
people
aye.
say you're not listening to me and we simply
Any
parrot back the
opposed?
words that
That
they were
motion
said,
carries.
congratulations, your ears worked. You know, that
So
is
do we
the
need a
act.
motion to adopt the whole policy then also?
Well, the way that this was done is there never was nobody, as I understand it, moved in the first place
Right.
to approve what was written. Your motion was to amend. Fair?
Fair?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
So I don't know that we need another vote, as long as it's clear to you that the entire policy was adopted as amended.
So I read it as you were making a motion to amend the policy, but I feel like you should have a motion then to approve the
Approve the
amended
amended
policy.
policy.
That's fine.
That is
And
the
I-
act of
yeah,
listening.
Thank you. And I will make that motion.
But the art of
Okay.
listening
That
is,
we approve
is creating an
the
environment
policy
in
as
which the
amended.
other person feels
seconds.
heard. Now, you notice what I said there. The
All
other
those in
person, and I
favor
used an
signify by
emotional word,
saying
feels.
aye.
Right?
Any
I don't want to know
opposed?
that you heard the
That
words.
motion carries.
I want to feel.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I want to feel heard.
We're up
Feel
to
seen.
item
I want to
G.
feel understood. And that is a
Resolution
learnable, practicable skill.
07-2026, disallowing claim from State
there are
Farm
many parts of
Insurance
it.
on behalf of.
It's things
excuse
like
me, on
replacing
behalf of
judgment with
Tyler
curiosity.
Vandenberg.
Right? That's a hard thing to do. We're a pretty
Yeah,
judgy group.
thank you, Chair.
Right?
So this
To
claim
be curious
is
why someone
related
has a
to a
point of view.
snowplow
It's
incident
creating a safe
back,
space for someone
in
to,
December,
as my friend
where,
Dia
one
Khan
of our
calls it,
snowplow
empty the bucket.
operators was
So even if we
performing
find what they're saying
snow
just
removal and hit
reprehensible,
a vehicle.
right?
The vehicle
You're
was
never going to
parked
be able
in
to actually
a
have
residential
dialogue
driveway, but the
until
vehicle was
at
partially
least
hanging
one of the
out
parties
into the roadway.
gets the
So that is
opportunity
how
to
the
say
snowplow
everything
struck
without
the
judgment.
vehicle. We did
And
submit
as
the
she
claim
calls it,
to
emptying the
our
bucket. And once
insurance company. They
somebody
have
feels like
denied the
they've
claim,
completely
so
said
we are
everything,
recommending the
then
town
they're
board
more apt to
disallow the
listen to
claim.
you. But usually what we do is we defend,
Thank you.
or we litigate,
Any
or we
questions?
interrupt, we point out flaws in logic,
What are the
which is
wishes of
just
the
frustrating.
board?
And when you point out some flaws in somebody's logic, because we're all imperfect when we speak, and we all choose the wrong words at various times. And that's not
Any
what I meant. You
discussion?
know what I meant, is
All
what we have
those
to
in
say.
favor
Well, what if you
signify
know
by
what you meant? Then
saying
why don't you
aye.
say what you meant? You can see how this
Opposed?
spirals.
That motion carries. Item H, ordinance.
But it's things like when somebody says something, you know, and there's really easy ways to do it. Things like, go on.
And 291
Tell me
of the
more.
Town of Grand Chute
What
Municipal
else?
Code.
And they
Mr.
keep talking.
Patso, do you want to speak to
And you
this?
go quiet,
Thank
and
you,
you fill
Chair.
the space.
So these changes
me more.
are, if you look at the red line versions
Go on.
of the
And eventually,
municipal
it's all
code are
out.
relatively minor.
And then
So as
there's a
we
safe space
are
for you to
getting
respond
underway with,
or
the
to
plan
and express
exam
yourself in a
for our
constructive way.
commercial
But
plan review
that's
process,
correct.
we've done
We
an audit of
do
our
not
code
teach
and
listening,
basically
and
just
listening is
highlighted several
the way
references that are just
to
frankly out of
create,
date. So these revisions are necessary
to
be
build
in
trust with someone.
compliance, with the state.
You know, you make
And,
someone feel heard, they'll trust you.
In the case of
you know?
building an HVAC, maintain
It is the
our
way to
delegated
find
agent
common ground
status, and also gain
in
our
opposition,
delegated agent status for
in simple cases in
fire
business, but in more
suppression,
complicated cases
and
in national
water,
politics
for
or in
plan review.
global politics
So,
or in war.
be happy
You
to
know,
try to answer any questions
why do
if I could.
you know?
But again,
My
these changes
Bill
are relatively
Urey,
minor,
William
just
Urey,
reference
who
the
wrote
current,
Getting to Yes, he talks about the
chapters
same
that
thing.
are
He
in
goes,
the
"We have
state
talk
code
shows, but we
for
don't have
building."
listen shows." He says, "We have peace
that
talks, but what we
theft is
really
our
need is
recommended
peace
vote.
listens."
Thank you.
Okay.
You know, and he who's been
What are the
at the
wishes
table
of
of
the board?
at the highest levels of
Bailey
peace
moves to
negotiations, he
approve
said,
ordinance
people show up and start
03,
demanding what they want,
2026.
and that's how the
There's
negotiations
seconds.
begin. Nobody starts by
Any
saying,
discussion?
"So tell me why you came
All
here."
those in
There's
favor
a
signify
great
by
documentary
saying
that I
aye.
recommend
Aye.
to learn this.
Next,
It's
we
called
have
White
closed
Right,
session. That
Meeting
is
the
not
Enemy by
necessary
Dia
because
Khan.
we voted to approve
In a
this
nutshell,
without
Dia
going into
is a
closed
Muslim woman
session.
living in the
So
UK
we'll
who
move
was
on
trolled by
to,
white supremacists
item J,
to the
and that
point
would be
where the police
adjournment.
got involved because her life was at
Hearing
risk.
moves
They told her
adjourned.
stay away from open windows.
There are seconds.
That's how bad
All
it
those in
got.
favor signify by saying aye.
The way
Aye.
Dia
Any
responded
opposed?
was by
That
moving
motion
to the United
carries. We're
States
adjourned.
and going
Thank
to
you.
meet the white
Gentlemen, it's been my
supremacists.
pleasure.